I've been a wedding invitation designer for over 10 years, and this video is basically a rundown of all of my mistakes. This is what I wish I knew when starting my stationery business. I wrote down a list of mistakes. This was very humbling for me, but I want to encourage you that if you are making mistakes, A, I'm going to teach you how to avoid them, and B, you can still have a decade-long business and be successful even with mistakes. So let's dive in. Now, I have to say that when I first started out, I would literally keep a Post-it note on my desk that said dumb money. And it was every dollar that I had spent on dumb things. Like if I screwed up a print job and I had to get it reprinted, I would put that dollar amount there. And then when I would do something smart, like combined shipping, I would try and take that off. I'd be like, this was smart money. And I would try to like zero out all of my dumb money, which I never did. But sometimes we just need to reframe dumb money as a learning experience. So here are a few things that I learned 10 years ago, some not even that long ago, that I would wish someone would have taught me when I started my stationery business. I think the thing that cost me the most money and heartache over the years was just not understanding printing. So I would send something to print and then I would be disappointed in the colors. And when I talked to them, it was not that they printed it wrong. It was just that I misunderstand the printing process and the files weren't set up correctly, or I didn't design in such a way that worked really well for that printing process, or I added a color that didn't really exist in CMYK, for instance. So if you can understand how printing, specifically digital printing, works, then you'll be much better off. Big tips here are just to look at the CMYK and RGB spectrums, because the RGB spectrum relies on light from your screen pushing out behind a color, whereas when you're printing something, the light is going to absorb into the paper. So those colors can always feel a little bit more dull, and you might need to do some sample prints, etc., to get the colors that you want, as opposed to just printing the whole job and expecting it to look the same as it looks on screen. Make sure you're setting up your files in CMYK. That's going to give you more accurate colors, and make sure you're not designing in a program that only works in RGB. So if you're designing in Procreate or Canva, for instance, these are designed to be used on screen or for on-screen graphics. They're not necessarily designed to use for print graphics. Even if you can download a Canva file in CMYK, it's doing some like weird conversion, and your colors might not print very accurately to what you see on screen. Whereas if you can use a program like Illustrator, InDesign, an Adobe program, and set up your file in CMYK, it's going to print a lot more accurately. You can also calibrate your monitors. That's always a good option. And then once you get familiar with a print shop, you'll know that whatever you're printing on screen is going to look pretty accurate to what's printed. One big mistake that I made was I got an order at night. One night, my UPS guy came at like 5 p.m. and I compared it in my office to what I was trying to match, and it didn't look the same. So I was like calling on my printers, I'm crying, I'm making this whole thing because I need this to happen in the next day or two. And I ordered a very expensive reprint. I think it was about $500. Reprinted everything, and then it turned out that in the light of day, the original color was actually better than the adjustment I ended up making. So that was a very costly reprint that didn't even get used because I made the product worse in the end. So 2 things I learned there. The first is that you always want to compare in good lighting. You want your solid lighting. Don't compare colors at night. And the second thing is, when it comes to digital printing, colors are never going to be 100% accurate. So if you're trying to match something, in this case, I was trying to match an envelope, it's really hard to get an exact match. And the way that envelopes look, or paper looks that's dyed a certain color, is going to be very hard to replicate with printing. So even if you get the exact right color, it's going to look a little bit different because this is ink or toner and this is actually a dyed paper. So the thing that I wish you would tell me, and I would tell you, is to not try to match an envelope color specifically, but try to do something that is coordinating. Maybe do a watercolor element that kind of has these same shades in it. So one of them will match the envelope and pick up from that really easily, but it's not going to be very obvious if all the text doesn't exactly match the envelope. Another thing that I wish I had spent more time on is just learning etiquette. Emily Post is going to be the etiquette master. I also have blogs and things kind of teaching you about this and other videos on this channel, but wording is so important when it comes to invitations, and the people who are submitting their wording to you, like your clients, are not the experts here. It's your job to be the expert. Luckily, one of my printers told me that I had spelled accommodations wrong, 2 C's, 2 M's. before they actually printed a full job. So I was able to update and change that. But I know a lot of stationers that happened to when it was too late and they had to pay twice for that job to be printed. So it's your job to be the expert. It's your job to understand how wording should look. Another etiquette piece that I screwed up one time was I sent out my first like really fancy, nice, embossed thermography job, and I didn't put stamps on the RSVP envelopes. And this is something that the client never came back and told me, but I still like have nightmares about it to this day. So you gotta learn what goes into a wedding invitation. You gotta learn what all these pieces are, what all the different traditions are, what all the options are, how to spell the words, how to lay the words out correctly, so that you can be the expert in these situations. Another mistake that I didn't discover until about 7 years later when I became a teacher, I was going back through my invoices that I had created in Google Sheets, and I would manually go through and create these invoices. Here's what they look like. So first of all, they were not very cute, which is not a huge deal as long as they function properly, but they don't always function properly. In this case, I had added a line item after I had summed up the entire section for day of goods. And so when I was going back and I was teaching on this invoice and showing it as an example, and what I realized was, wait, these line items are not adding up to this total correctly. So what happened was I had added about $250 onto this invoice and I had not resummed the bottom of the spreadsheet. So I cost myself $250. The client had paid the sum amount because, of course, why would you not pay the sum amount, and never realized that the actual item amounts added up to about $250 more than that. So about 7 years later, I realized while teaching that I had cost myself $250 years in the past because I had been doing manual invoices. So the best way to avoid this is by using a system to do your invoices. Yes, you can do this in Excel or Google Sheets. Absolutely. I'm not saying it was the end of the world. I totally survived that $250 loss, but now I use a system called Dubsado, and I'm never, ever, ever going to miss that again. So you don't have to specifically use Dubsado. There's a lot of different client management systems out there, but all of them are going to help you with invoicing. They're going to do all the math for you, so you're not having to manually sum everything up at the bottom. Of course, you can still input a number incorrectly. There are mistakes that can be made, but when you use a system and you know where everything is and you know the computer is doing the math for you, you're not going to accidentally cost yourself $250 like I did. So I think the lesson here is that it's really scary to start doing systems, and Google Sheets is free. You can send invoices that way. But also in that case, I was like collecting checks. So it would take me a really long time to get paid on a job. I couldn't start on a job until I had like gone and gotten the check or had it brought to me and cashed it, etc. Now what I do with Dubsado is I just send them the invoice directly. They pay by credit card and it's in my account within 48 hours. So getting paid easier is very, very powerful. I have had one client since I started using the system try to send a check, and she actually sent it to the wrong address because she found an old invoice with an old address. It never arrived there. I don't even know what happened. I talked to the people who live there now. It never arrived, and she ended up having to pay by credit card because we were getting to the point where the wedding was coming up and I needed payment in order to deliver goods. So that brings me to another mistake that you might make that I have made, which is absolutely do not do any work without accepting payment first. One time I made these boxes. They were welcome boxes, and I had confirmed with the client everything that was going in them. But when she saw them on the day of check-in for the wedding, she was very disappointed and she called me like frantic, and she was like, we need to add some more things to these boxes to make them feel more full or something. So I quoted out a few options that I could get for her. She said, great. It was going to be about $200 for me to go and get whatever we were adding and come at it. I manually came there on a Friday. I missed going to the zoo with my cousins. I remember this very clearly, and put everything in the boxes. And it was going to be about $200, which this girl had paid me a lot more than that. And she was having a very nice wedding. This should not have been a very big deal for her, but I was really confident that she would pay me because she had never missed a payment or anything before. And she had never given any indication that she would not be paying me for this. I sent her a reminder invoice. Oh my gosh, it took me 2 years, I think, to let it go and stop sending that to her because I was just feeling petty sometimes. But it's one of those things that still keeps me up at night, still really bothers me, that $200. And it's not about the amount. It's just that I feel so stupid because I really thought I was doing her a favor and that she would be good for it. And I really thought I looked for all the red flags. and they were not there, but she still ended up not paying. The advice I would give there is just never ever deliver anything, no matter what's going on, even if it's the day of the wedding, before you get the payment. If they need it specifically on the day of the wedding, then they will figure out what it takes to get you payment. That time frame can actually work in your favor in a lot of cases. Once the wedding is over, they've already gotten everything, it's all out of their mind, and the budget is fully set. They basically have no incentive to actually pay you, and you have no collateral in case they don't. Similar to that is just not working without a contract. This is not something, knock on wood, that has specifically bitten me in the butt, but it did save me one time having a contract because my client's bank actually rejected her payment. It was about $2,500, so a much bigger payment, and they took the funds out of my account. Even with the client fully agreeing with me, working with me to get this fixed, she was very amenable, and with the full contract in place, it still took like 2.5 weeks for us to work this out between our different banking institutions. So this was really, really frustrating, but I was so grateful in that moment that I had the contract because it was really helpful. And imagine if the client had not been so grateful and had decided to take this to their advantage. They had already gotten their invitations, for instance, because I had already received the payment. So they absolutely could have been worse about this. And I was just very fortunate that they worked in my favor. But I was also so glad that I had the contract in place because that was really important in that moment. And then the last thing I would say might be tied with understanding printing, but it's just to always, always double check. I am really good with numbers. I'm really good with dates, phone numbers, addresses, things like that. So in my head, I just always think I know everything. And so many times because of that, I've been ordering invitations and I've thought to myself, oh, did they get, it was 130 with 5 extras, so 135. And then it turns out it was 135 with 5 extras and I should have ordered 140 or something like that. So there are a million times where I have screwed something up just because there are so many details when it comes to a wedding about whether you need to number the RSVPs or not. I have once assembled an entire box of invitations, packed it up to ship, and then had to take every single one out to renumber the RSVPs because I forgot to. Whether it's the size of the invitations, maybe you always order ultra white cardstock, but this client wants soft white, and you kind of forget that and order everything on ultra white because that's what you're used to. Whether you get the right quantity, the right number of extras. Sometimes clients change things at the last minute and you forget to note them on your production sheet, etc. So the biggest thing that I can say here is just always, always, always double check. Never assume that you remember. Always go back to the production sheet, the proofs, the emails, the things that they signed off on. And I'll put my production sheet that I use whenever I'm ordering something as a freebie for you in the description of this video. That's just something that can help you double check because when you go through it, you have to really list out every single thing in its own box, and I promise it's worth it. So most of this video focused on mistakes I made, but if I were gonna tell you some really positive things that I wish I knew when I started my business, I would say that it's almost all positive. This community is amazing. I've taught thousands of mostly women, there are a couple men thrown in there, stationery designers how to grow their business. And I think that this community is so kind, generous, talented, inspirational. There's just creative. God, there's just so many fun, amazing women in this community that I have been so fortunate to meet. So 10 years ago, starting this, I didn't really think that I could be supporting myself. I didn't realize I could be having some amazing experiences and meeting this amazing community that I have. And I think you'll truly love it here. Another thing that I wish had been available 10 years ago is just some lessons in how to do this. So there weren't people out there making these videos telling you, hey, don't make this mistake, do this instead. There weren't people out there teaching you how to fast track your design education or how to talk to clients or what systems are going to work best. So I hope you'll stick around and check out some of the things that we offer here on our channel, because that is something that I feel like I frame all of my videos and resources from the perspective of some of myself starting 10 years ago and how to prevent you from making the same mistakes that I did. So I'm going to link a few resources that you might enjoy in the description that can jumpstart your designing in the Adobe programs if those are feeling intimidating. Our big stationery beginner class that will teach you everything you need to know, and some other things that I think will be really helpful for you. You can also find so much here on my channel for free. So I hope you'll check it out. Let me know what you're looking for and I'd be happy to point you in the right direction. Welcome to the world of wedding stationery.